Hello, everyone. Welcome to Health 180 with Carion Fenn on Rogers TV. My name is Carion Fenn. Today, we're speaking to Dr. Ian Horseman from the Posture Clinic about vehicular accidents. We want to help you learn more, so let's learn together. Dr. Horseman, welcome back to our show.
Hey, thanks for having me again. Always like being here.
Yes, we're always happy to have you join us. I think you're our second most popular guest on our show. You might be the first one though. I have to double check on that because it used to be former Minister Rod Phillips, but I think you might have beaten that threshold as the most popular guest on our show. We're always happy to have your expertise and for you to shed light on so many topics that are important to our community and understanding what is happening. So, often we see, and this is happening quite a lot, it's very hard nowadays to go on the street and not see a vehicular accident happening. And for those who are going through it or have a loved one going through vehicular accidents, what are people expecting at first when being in a vehicular accident?
Well, the first thing that you should know is that the best thing you can do if you know that the accident is happening, so you hear the screeching of the tires or you can see that the car can't stop or whatever, the best thing you can do is put your head and the body in the most rigid position as possible. Get your head against the backrest, the headrest, and make yourself as tense as you can. The reason is that our muscles are fires at around just under about a third of a second, so about 0.3235 seconds. Car accidents often happen in zero point 0.2 and less because it's very quick. And the problem with that is that we don't have enough time to kind of make our muscles fire to protect our spine and protect the elements in our spine. And so when you make yourself rigid, you protect the muscles, you protect the ligaments, the bones, and of course your brain, which is really critical in a car accident. So that's the first thing that I just throw out there. And what to expect? Well, the when you get into an accident now, from a legal point of view, there's something called minor injury. Most accidents happen within that if it's not that severe, if there's fairly limited injury to your car, if you will. But I also caution people because the way I explain it to people is that, humans are only going to run about 18 kilometers an hour fastest, maybe 20 if you're real fast. So accidents happen a lot faster than 20 kilometers. So we're not really designed to withstand that kind of force. So there's not a lot of minor injuries out there. Anything over 20 kilometers an hour, I would definitely get checked by a doctor and a chiropractor that or a specialist that does this kind of work.
So you mentioned in regards to the kilometers and getting checked, but when someone is in a vehicular accident, sometimes your adrenaline is going. Some people may not feel anything at this moment, but as they wake up in the morning and they start feeling aches and pain, is that an indication to get checked out?
Yeah, again, if there's damage to the car, I would get checked out. Generally, I don't think that if it's over 20 kilometers an hour, even if you're feeling pretty good, I would definitely get checked out. There's so many of my patients come in, and I take X-rays, and I'm like, well, when did you have your accident? I can see that there's trauma. And they didn't think it was a big deal because I didn't go to the hospital. I didn't, go by an ambulance, so therefore it's fine. But I believe most people should get checked out after an accident. I mean, if there's nothing wrong, fine. You just move on with your day, and at least you're secure with that. But I've seen just so many people that have lingering injuries years after an accident, and you really should deal with it when it's fresh and easier to help.
Is it really hard for you as a doctor if someone comes in later to say, "Oh, I was in an accident. I'm having these issues." Like, is that how challenging is that for you as a doctor trying to treat someone who was in an accident and then there might have been a delay in getting medical care?
Well, the bigger issue there is does the insurance company have responsibility? you have to report your accident by law within 2 years of the accident. So if it's past 2 years, you're kind of on your hook. You have to pay out of your pocket, which is can be very expensive. But the longer you leave something, the harder it is to help because the body gets more used to that. The muscles get tighter, the ligaments get scar tissue and adhesions. The bones can start literally remodeling and forming, within a couple 6 to 8 months after your injury. So you really want to get on it and deal with it. And if you have a concussion, you really should get on it right away because the earlier intervention for concussions is well documented and highly recommended to get in as soon as you can.
Hmm. So, in terms of what type of impact on the body are you seeing, like people are experiencing when in a car accident? I know you mentioned in terms of trying to how you handle your body in terms of tensing up. I don't think anyone really tells us as a member of the public, like how to position your body. What type of injuries in general are you seeing? Are people being hurt, whether from arm injuries, leg injuries, back injury, lower back. What type of injuries are you seeing over the years?
Okay. Well, the most common by far is a whiplash in your neck.
Hmm.
Your head weighs, if you're a female, your head weighs about 8 pounds, 9 pounds. If you're a male, your head weighs about 11 pounds. The forces involved are you get hit. If you're hit from behind, your seat gets pushed forward, your head gets whipped back, and then you do a forward kind of lurch. Or if you're hit in the front, you do the opposite and come back. And what happens is we have a natural curve in our neck that kind of comes forward towards our throat. And so when you get injured, it often bends the other direction because there's ligament damage. And the nasty thing about ligament damage is it's like steel. Once you stretch it, it's permanent, you know? If you've ever had a slinky and you throw it down the stairs and it goes down and it's fun to play with, and then one day you decide to stretch it too far and then the damn thing doesn't work anymore and it's really sad. It's a sad day. But when we do that with our necks and our backs, it's hard to fix. The only thing you can do is restore the curve, make the curve in the best position, the best posture, and then strengthen the muscles around the injury. We also see concussions quite a bit, low back injuries, rib injuries from the seatbelt. And if you hit your knees on the dashboard, your foot on the pedal, there's a lot of different injuries. Of course, a lot of it depends on which way the car hits you. Did you hit something? Did the car hit you? What kind of car was it? How fast were the speeds? All of those have a big factor. The weather, the road conditions, was your foot on the brake?
Hmm.
So many different parameters affect how your body reacts to it.
Is it normal that someone may have? How does someone tell whether or not they've blocked out after being hit, or there's anything in that instance? Is there a way of telling?
Well, like you said in the beginning, there's an adrenaline surge when you get in an accident. It's a fright and flight response. Your body goes into a protection mode, and I can last a couple hours. I can tell you personally, I was involved in a pretty significant car accident on the 401 in 2013, and I suffered a neck injury and a concussion, and I was in shock. I didn't even realize it, and I do this for a living. And I drove home, and I remember talking to the officer saying there was a bad storm and lots of injury. And he said, "Well, if there's only $2,000 damage to your car, you don't have to come in right now. You can deal with it tomorrow." When I got home the next morning, I went and looked at my car. My whole trunk was pushed right in. You couldn't open the trunk, and there was basically $18,000 worth of damage to the car. It was almost a write-off. So I mean, I'm living proof that you can be in shock. I drove home just like a homing pigeon, just wanted to get home from Peterborough from Toronto, 2-hour drive, and I didn't even have a clue how bad it was till I looked at the car in the morning. So,
Hmm.
I mean, it's something that you should take very seriously if you get in an accident, and uh, maybe have a bit more pause. Like I just jumped in the car and started driving home. You should probably give it a little bit of time before you make decisions.
Yeah. So is there a like you mentioned about being a fight or flight mode. Is there certain things that people should be conscious about in I guess if you don't go to the hospital or the doctor, Is there something that you can do to see whether or not, can you touch your body, or do you just go and get assessed? Is there anything that can trigger someone finding out a little bit earlier than waking up in the morning? Ow, I'm in pain. Is there anything that you would suggest that people can do to assess themselves right away to see whether or not they might be injured or not in that moment?
Well, that it depends. Like my accident happened late at night, so there was nothing open really, and I didn't want to be in the hospital.
Hmm.
I could move my hands and my feet, and I could, put together sentences, and I could think relatively clearly. And I knew I was sore, but you won't feel it a lot till the next day or even up to 6 days after. When you tear ligaments and elements close to the spine, like deep down, it sort of percolates out, and the irritation and the inflammation percolated over days. So you might not feel it till 4 or 5 days later. But if you get a headache right away, and you have any sort of like sharp pains and any mobility issues, I would definitely get to the hospital just to make sure there's nothing significantly wrong with you. And then definitely in the morning, or when you can, make an appointment with your chiropractor or your medical doctor, whoever you're comfortable with, and
Hmm.
see, get assessed right away. And I will always get X-rays with accidents just to see if there's any damage, and you kind of take it from there.
What is not is not does not what if someone get nauseous? Is that an indication of anything that you
Yeah,
can
and
do anything?
nausea's the nausea center sits at the just above the base of our neck. So where your skull connects to your neck, just
Hmm.
above that, in that part of the spinal cord, there's a nodular center there. And so it can be in sign of whiplash. It can also be a sign of concussion. So if I had nausea, I would definitely probably get to the hospital just to make sure there's nothing significant going on. I think that would be a reasonable thing to say. And the thing is that that's what hospitals are there for. They are there for emergencies. And a
Yeah.
car accident clearly it's not like a common cold where you're going because you just can't be bothered to go to your medical doctor. And that's what it's for. They want to make sure there's no brain bleeds, and they'll be able to assess you pretty quickly and tell you, yeah, there's no fractures, there's nothing to worry about. Go see your healthcare provider when things settle.
So you're watching Health 180 with Carion Fenn on Rogers TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Health 180 with Carion Fenn on Rogers TV. My name is Carion Fenn. We are exploring vehicular accidents with Dr. Ian Horseman from the Posture Clinic. Dr. Horseman, welcome back on the other side. We want to talk about a little bit more about vehicular accidents, and what are a few things you can say to someone in terms of what are a few tips that you can give to someone in terms of what happens or what they should do immediately after getting into an accident, and as it relates to the insurance company?
So a couple things. If you can, take some pictures of the accident. If you can think about things like this, if you're capable of doing that, it helps because a lot of times, especially if it's not your fault, I would definitely get video and evidence of it. Another quick antidote: I was driving in Toronto and I got hit by in the back of my car, not aggressively, by a taxi cab. And a month later, the insurance company said that the person that I reported was not the accident. They were denying that it was them. I actually went up to their car, took pictures of their license plate and pictures of their license. There, because cab drivers have licenses. So I sent that to the insurance company. She said, "Thank you very much," and that was it. If I hadn't have done that, they would have gotten away with the accident. So, get evidence if you can. Definitely, you want to call your insurance company right away and let them know you've been in an accident. Inform them that you're going to go see your healthcare provider to check out your injuries just to make sure everything's fine. If you're injured, then you're going to definitely tell them that you're injured and you need to get treatment for it. And you should be aware that the way that they set it up now is that there's something called a minor injury, which is it was basically designed for getting bumped from behind at about 20 kilometers an hour, an average patient about 35 years old looking straight ahead. Unfortunately, most accidents are not that simple. And so the problem is that the insurance companies kind of know this and they try to minimize their exposure. And we'll get into a little bit more of what they're going to do on July 1st this year, 2026. But back to your question, you really have to, get the evidence. Let them know, report it to the collision reporting center with as many details as you can remember. If there's any witnesses, make sure you get their names, and if you can get I took photographs of people's licenses. That just really helps because now then the person can't deny that it was them and all those things. So that would be my advice, especially if the accident is not your fault, because there still is a, um, a really important determination. If it's not your fault, then the insurance company is going to treat you quite a bit better, and it's a much easier process than if you've created the issue.
So you mentioned about July 1st. Are there changes in accident benefits expected?
Yeah, and it's very, very, there is indeed. So they're coming up with some really big changes, sweeping changes. It's under the guise of saving the consumers money, but most of the experts are saying it's really not going to save you very much if you keep the same benefits. So there's two positives to this, and there's two negatives. So there's quite a few negatives. So what they're doing is they're keeping certain things as mandatory benefits. That's medical. So if you get injured, you have a right to get healed, just like you have a right to get your car fixed, which kind of makes sense. Rehabilitation, so coming to places like me, and that's at whatever level you've set it at. And I always recommend get the highest level you can, because if you get injured, you definitely want to have that. And attendant care benefits, so people looking after you. The thing that they're going to do though is they're going to make things optional. So if you get a new insurance after July 1st, you have to then opt in to the benefits. And one of the biggies is income replacement. So imagine you get in a car accident and you didn't take the option of getting income replacement. You're left to go on unemployment insurance or long-term disability or short-term disability. And I have a lot of people on those. They're not very good, and you're going to be in real trouble. So I definitely think that's one you should not opt out of. They're also taking away things like housekeeping. You have to opt in and pay more for that. Visitors, death benefits. There's non-earner benefits, education
Death,
benefits.
hold on. Did you say is death benefit optional?
It's becoming death and funeral expenses are now you have to pay for the rider to get that.
Oh,
Before it
wow.
was all these things I'm saying, like education, visitor,
Is this for new? Are you thinking this is for new? Are these for new insurance, or
anybody.
how does this impact those who already have insurance?
Okay, so what they're doing is if you have, my understanding is now I'm going to recommend everybody go check your call your insurance person broker and make sure that what I'm saying is true. But from
Mhm.
what it's saying off the Ontario website, is that if you have insurance right now, all of these benefits will automatically be opted on, and you'll keep paying. You might be paying a little bit more, but you'll keep all your benefits.
Mhm.
If you get new insurance after the 1st of July, let's say you get a new car and you're going to buy new insurance with a new company, then you have to opt in for these benefits. You have to say, yes, I want to pay extra for that. The thing that's going to happen is people are going to say, oh, I need to save some money on my insurance, so I'm not going to take this, I'm not going to take that, not going to take this. But if you get in a car accident, and you can't work, you better make sure that you've got income replacement, somebody that can help look after you. And yeah, they're taking away they're not taking it away, but you have to pay extra to get the funeral and death premium from the insurance company. There's a couple positives though. Well, the one positive is that they're calling it first payer rule. And
Mhm.
right now, when you get in an accident, you have to use up your private insurance first.
Mhm.
So if you come and see me as a chiropractor, we have to use up all your private insurance for a chiropractor, and then you use up the insurance. So it saves them money. They're getting rid of that so that when you come in now, you get to keep your own chiropractic coverage, and then
Mhm.
you can use that once the insurance claim is finished. So that's a real good positive, and it will be a wonderful thing for our clinics because it's such a nightmare logistically and with trying to bill the insurance companies and all that. It's going to be that's the one real positive from this, but it's a very small thing. This pendulum just keeps swinging further and further um,
Yeah.
to the insurance benefit.
That's interesting that you said that because I don't know if people know that because I didn't know this. When one of my car blew up, well, one in flames, they said that I had to use my home insurance in order to claim for property stuff that I had in the car. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what does that have to do with my home insurance? Like, it happened in the car. So it's kind of like, to me, if that were to happen where you have a car fire, to me it seems like that should be a claim on your car. So I think that's some of the things that people really don't take a look at or don't know until you find yourself in that situation. But it makes a lot of sense in terms of making sure that you have certain insurance to protect your assets because
Yes.
one of the things that my son always do is he plays baseball and I always tell them like take your equipment with you, because those things can be expensive, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think the more we get educated on these stuff and know like what to get and what to make sure in place, that we can make sure that it's in place. So in terms of education is another component to the benefits that's on a insurance vehicular insurance. And are there any other items that you think that people should make sure that they're covered for
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
in case?
So the way it works is that you're in a minor injury, and then they have something called a non-catastrophic category, which is where you're injured more than just a quick, easy injury. It's hard to get into that. You have to usually have a lawyer and fight it.
Mhm.
If you cannot get out, if you think your injury's significant, I would
Mhm.
get a lawyer right away, just
Mhm.
because you want to protect yourself and you want to protect your family and your future. So I always recommend getting a lawyer if you've had a fairly significant injury, because you're probably going to come to heads with the insurance company at one point in time. And I think it's good to start right away. Um, what you should also look at your accident benefits, how much they can pay for rehab. It's
Mhm.
65,000. I think it's 35,000 if in the regular, and you can pay extra.
Mhm.
Always add the extra, because if you get injured, you want to have as much coverage as you can. Because
Mhm.
65,000 sounds like a lot, but if you're having to go once or twice or three times a week to four different people, you'll eat
Mhm.
that up in less than a year, 2 years. And
Mhm.
there's another category which is catastrophic, meaning that you're not able to work, you're going to be permanently injured, and you want to have at least $2 million coverage there, because again, $1 million sounds like a lot. I've got patients right now who've blown through $1 million in 5 years. So,
Mhm.
and it means that once they're done, they have nothing left and they can't work. So, 2 million is a much more realistic amount to have in today's world with the cost of lawyers and just it costs so much money for everything. So, I'd always opt for get the best coverage you can and don't chintz out on the medical stuff, because it's when you get injured that's when you're going to be so happy you did it.
What happens when you're like a pedestrian or riding your bike and you get injured? Is there a difference?
Yeah, and there's differences coming up in July on that as well.
Mhm.
You have to have your own insurance If you get hit on a bike or as a pedestrian, there is changes coming there. So the insurance companies can get away from having to cover things. So you want to check your riders there. It's another optional thing you have to. So if you're walking, you have to opt in to have this extra coverage to cover you as a pedestrian for your private insurance. Or as if you're riding your bike, you literally need to take out extra insurance now from your car accident to cover if you get hit by a car. It used to be that the other's car insurance would pay for it. It's
Mhm.
becoming a gray area. So I'm just saying, talk to your brokers, your insurance brokers, the people who sell insurance, and just find out this information. And you want to, as more information comes from the government, we're getting a little bit clearer on what's going to be covered and what isn't. But it's a big change, and it's a definite game changer. This kind of thing happens every 10 years or so, and this is
Mhm.
the next wave of what the insurance companies are allowed to get away with, I think. So I'm not a big fan of insurance companies. I hope when I get in an accident they treat you fairly, and there is a very small amount of people taking advantage of insurance companies, but it's so small compared to the people that are truly injured and need help. And I just keep hoping that the governments will start getting a little more firmer with them, and let the pendulum swing a little bit back into the people that are actually paying the premiums.
Mhm. What's one quick thing you can say to someone who is recovering from an accident?
Positive attitude is a lot of it. Focusing on what you have,
Mhm.
not what you don't have. Focusing on what you can do, not what you can't do. Surrounding yourself with positive people as much as you can, and find a healthcare provider that cares more about you and getting you well than the bottom line. It's a really important thing because you have to find the people that are truly there for you, and are going to look after you no matter what happens with the insurance. And I think my advice is, choose wisely who
Yeah,
you surround yourself with and who you go to see.
that's a great tip. That's all the time we have for today's episode of Health 180 with Carion Fenn and Rogers TV. Thank you to Dr. Ian Horseman for joining us, and thank you for joining. And remember, together we are stronger.